All right. Hey, everybody. Let's check and make sure that all is well. Hey, live from Denver. It is Friday night. Just got to make sure our sound check is good and everything. And in fact, let's get a sound check from you too.
Hello, everyone.
There we are. Hey, glad you could join us for this show this week about Scientology Ideal Orgs and expansion, as you so rightly said in the comments there. Oh yes, all that Scientology expansion that's happening, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about tonight. We got a lot of stuff to go over, a lot of fun stuff. I'm going to walk you guys through some historical stuff with Scientology that you may or may not know about. As a former Sea Org Scientology guy who grew up in it from the 70s. I have so much knowledge of the history of Scientology, and I think I take it, one, I think I take it for granted, and two, I think because I think I know it, sometimes often will project that onto everybody else and think you all know it too, and I don't think that's actually true. So I thought we might talk about some history stuff tonight in context of current events with Scientology and things like that. But before we get into any of that, we have our beginning Friday stuff. And as you can see, I am joined by my beautiful wife, Melissa.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy. We got her we brought back the better stand. So hopefully
no mic issues tonight.
Exactly. Not putting baby in a corner here, and we're not keeping her silent.
Oh my God.
Okay, so yes, please do tell them that Chris Shelton says hello. I'm sure some of the veteran staff in Austin will actually recognize my name. I had a lot to do with Austin Org back in the day as a manager, even though I never went there while I was in the Sea Org or Scientology. Never went to Austin Org, never set foot in the place. And even when I did get to Austin a couple of years ago, I didn't go into the org, of course, for obvious reasons. Okay. First, in our intro beginning stuff here, do you have a quote of the week for us?
So it was my birthday yesterday. I'm starting to get a little older, so I thought this would be a good quote. Getting older is fine. There is nothing you can do to stop it, so you might as well stay on the bus. John Byrne.
Fair enough. That's right.
I mean, it's better to get older than alternative.
Well, also, I mean, you are in the year of having all the answers to life, the universe, and everything now.
That's true.
So, this is the year that you can really go to town.
Oh, is that right?
This is the year where you get to put me in my place every single day.
Oh, really?
Well, you have the answers to life, the universe, and everything.
Are you going to believe that? No.
I'm just saying. I mean, if Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, by the way, if y'all are missing the reference here.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. So, okay. We will crank up Melissa's mic.
Boy.
Okay, I've got it cranked up all the way now. Okay, so yes, we were actually, we had a nice birthday celebration for Mel this week. A little bit. I mean, it was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some nice food. And
had some food and great presents. Went out with people last weekend to celebrate, so that was good.
Yeah, it's a good time. Got to make some strawberry salsa.
Yeah, that stuff's delicious.
I love making strawberry salsa, by the way. And cinnamon chips. Oh, so tasty.
Yes.
And hey, by the way, guys, leadership, it's all about lifting people up. Just so you know. Okay. Okay, so let us do our Snuggles Not Struggles cam, because I know y'all are jonesing on not having gotten your fix yet for Benson the Magnificent. Hashtag there. Let's go ahead and throw him on the screen. There he is, chilling in the hallway today. He Well, you can see he had a very big day today.
He took a big walk.
He did. He had a very long walk today, and he was still energetic, and he went outside a number of times, and he was still energetic. And then finally in the, late afternoon here when we got this Benson cam, he was, hey, there's my box of toys, and why aren't you pulling one of them out and playing with me? Is basically the communication here.
Excuse me.
Yeah, like,
excuse
hello,
me.
hello. So here he goes, because I grabbed his rope toy, and like we did the other week, here we are playing, what is it?
Tug of Fetch.
Tug of Fetch, that's right. Never keep that clear in my head. Yeah, there he goes. Now he's tugging. Now he's tugging on what he fetches. Dogs, not logs. Bee guppies. Yes, that's right. Yeah, he goes back and forth up and down that hallway. He will just rip it up, and you can just kind of drag him along. He loves playing tug with this thing. He really does. Down he goes and back.
Very cute.
Yeah, so there's our Snuggles.
He's got a good grip for being a little guy.
Oh, super strong. I think he's actually getting stronger too. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I think he is, because he can really keep a grip on that thing. Anyway, yeah. So there's our Benson cam. We had some car issues, and so we're using a rental this week, and I had to go down and pick it up today, and I took him on a nice long walk to go get that this morning, and I thought it was gonna like maybe put him down for the morning, that it might wear him out.
Nope.
Nah.
Just riled him up.
That's right. Didn't happen. Hey, Paul, I see you in the comments there. See all the usual suspects, of course. Happy y'all are here. Okay, so I guess, yeah, I guess we should just kind of get on with things. Oh, I wanted to share with you guys something that I am doing. A couple years ago, Mel and I did this. This is just me this time. Not for any other reason than just because it seemed to be the right thing for me to do. I'm not like calling her out for this. But a couple years ago, Mel and I did a 30-day challenge of getting off social media entirely, completely. No commenting, no looking, no doom scrolling, nothing. And took a month off from that, and gotta say, it was pretty amazing. We did a video after the fact of that, talked about it. Haven't looked back at that in a long time, but recent events and recent circumstances and all of that have gotten a little bit heavy and a little bit much, right, for me. And so I thought, now's a good time for a little detox. And so, and I got to tell you guys that as crazy and weird and wild as the internet has gotten, and I am maintaining this channel as a drama-free channel. We're not doing drama here. As wild as all that has gotten, my real life work has actually picked up. A lot. And so the balance between both of those things has really kind of gotten interesting lately. It used to be, just a channel. And now it's like I've got all these real life commitments, people I'm seeing and talking with, and things I'm going out and doing. I'm traveling this weekend. Maybe I'll tell you all about it way after the fact, but right now it's not appropriate to talk about it. But it's for work stuff. And it's just going really great. And I also want to remind everybody, I am still committed to this. I've been burning the midnight oil, and I am doing a lot of work. I was working on this for days. I've been working on the tone scale live stream that is coming up this coming Thursday, right? 6 days from today. That's happening. Come hell or high water, unless I'm not somehow physically kept from this desk. In 6 days, we're doing the tone scale live stream, and it's going to be Thursday, 1 o'clock my time, not 2. It's going to be at 1 o'clock. And I'm not sure exactly how long it's going to go. It's pretty long. There's a lot to cover in it, and I've been putting slides and stuff together and going through and finalizing it, and it's just been a lot of work. But I am so excited to get that finally. It's in my sights. the completion of something that I have been promising for years is finally there. And I am super, super excited about it. And I'm just going to be glad when it's all done and delivered to you guys. So, so I think that's going to be, fun. Anyway, so that whole balance and all that kind of stuff has been cool, but not really enough. This, I have learned or been reminded recently that amygdala hijack is a real thing, and it's a very real thing for me. And I can blow my top, and I can lose my patience, and I can be triggered, and I can do all the rest just like anybody else. And so the question then became, why do I keep putting myself in a position where that's happening? Why would I do that to myself? Right? And because it's no real defense in the moment when you understand how all of this stuff works, that doesn't negate your emotions or your emotional needs or your ideas or your desires for whatever. And that doesn't just go away just because some things, right?
Exactly.
And so, no, what you need to do is a thing called discipline and a thing called not putting yourself in that position in the first place, you idiot. So that's what's happening. So anyway, social media detox. And so if you're not going to see, other than me posting my content over the next month, which you'll still get links to, you're not going to see me sending out tweets or posting on Facebook or Instagram or Discord or TikTok or anywhere else. I'm just posting my work and that's it. So, but I've got my messenger. I mean, people can still email me and reach me. I'm not like in an ivory tower. It's just social media is not getting any more of my attention. Okay, so I needed to say all that just to make sure everybody knew that was the deal. And oh my God, yeah, amygdala hijack would be a great name for social media, wouldn't it? It's actually a really good one. Okay, well, I guess we should get to what we're going to be talking about. Okay, so here we go. I have brought papers. So as y'all know, let me write something down real fast.
Oh boy.
All right, good. There are new Ideal Orgs opening up. In fact, tomorrow, Austin's opening.
Oh boy.
February 24th. And the church, the newly renovated Church of Scientology in Austin on Guadalupe across from the University of Texas is going to be having its grand opening tomorrow. Chicago apparently is opening on March 3rd. And Mexico City is getting a second Ideal Org on March 1st, and Paris sometime soon. This is all according to Tony Ortega's reporting and, word around the campfire. So I wanted to tell you guys some things I wanted to talk about Scientology. I wanted to talk about the fact of these orgs opening up and the array of orgs that have opened over the last 20 years and how should we think about this stuff? What's a bird's eye view of this from a historical perspective? Should we be worried that Scientology is opening new organizations? Should we be worried about new public coming in there and finding out about it and getting on board and paying their first steps toward millions and all of that? And I think no, but I'm gonna walk you through some stuff as to why I think all of that. There's a very, very important piece of information, a policy in Scientology that we're gonna go back to at the end, but I wanted to bring it up here at the beginning. The cause of the affluence is still capable of causing it. In other words, this is an L. Ron Hubbard quote. In other words, if there is a surge in expansion in statistics, if things go suddenly up, if the lines on the graph go, whoa, look at that, straight up and vertical, baby, that's called an affluence.
Okay.
It's a condition in Scientology. It's a formal thing for a straight up, steep near vertical dive, or not dive, but up, right, is your affluence. And normal is just a regular, steady progression up. You got two this week, you got 3 next week, you get 4 the week after that, 5, like dot, 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 dot. Up it goes. Nothing spectacular, nothing amazing, just steady eddy progression up. That's normal. That's regular. That's normal. It's a condition. That's how that would be great too. If things were just in normal operation and just steadily expanding, everything would be wonderful. But affluence, steep, right? And that's what that's the desired statistical outcome from any Scientology activity, is things going up. So Hubbard says that when you analyze why something went up, you find the reason for it, the cause of the affluence, and you reinforce it. You do it again, because the cause of the affluence is still capable of causing it. Okay, that's a blanket statement data in Scientology. It's a principle that is always true in all circumstances across the boards, no matter what context you're talking about. That's how the conditions work in Scientology. Okay, there are these formulas, and the affluence formula has, isolate what caused the affluence and reinforce it, right? So round and round we go. So the thing is about Scientology is, if you're involved with it for any length of time, like many of us old guys are, then you're going to see repeating patterns of behavior in this group. And like generational change, the youth, the upcoming generation is completely ignorant and oblivious to what came before, and often incredibly incurious about it too. Right? They don't need to know. They don't care to know. It's not important that they know. And then they end up making and repeating all the same mistakes we did, because they don't pay attention. And just like we didn't pay attention when people tried to tell us what was what, right?
Don't make that mistake. Nope, you wouldn't have made that mistake.
Exactly, right? We all do it. Well, Scientologists are no exception to that rule, and upcoming new Scientologists have no idea what came before. This is aided and abetted, you could say, by the fact that the church engages in regular historical revisionism and amnesia, where they either revise the history or they just dump it entirely, and it's like it never existed. Try to find a copy of Hymn of Asia in a Church of Scientology these days. And it's a book. L. Ron Hubbard wrote it in the 1950s. He claimed to be Buddha reincarnated. Yeah, am I Matea, right? This whole bullshit, prophecy that Hubbard made up. Totally made it all up, right? Got busted for it, making it up. They actually tried to get the Buddhists on board in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
Had a whole contingent of Buddhists come out to flag. It was a big deal. It was a buzz in the Scientology world. All these, dressed in these yellow and, red robes going to flag, and this is going to be it. They're going to find out. This is going to be the thing. We're going to blow open the eastern countries, right, with this. That didn't last very long at all. That Buddhist contingent came and they left. And they were not convinced, as far as I know, that Hubbard was Matea, because Hubbard's whole presentation of that prophecy and his fulfillment of it was just made up nonsense, right? That he just made up for people in the West back in the 50s. So you can't find that book around anywhere in any churches. It's been out of print for decades now. But it was a very valuable Hubbard pushed property at one point in time in Scientology's past. And it probably will be again after enough time passes. Yeah, and that's kind of where we're going with all this, right? Is that right now, in addition to, let me tell you guys a couple things. Right now, in addition to these ideal orgs opening up, there's a whole other thing happening. And Jeff Beaumont, PTS for Life, did a video about this a week or two ago, and it's the fact that all of or a good chunk of the executive trainees for Scientology churches around the world who have been training at Flag for a couple years now they're all coming home. Apparently they're done. They've done this executive training, this super duper high class, upper level, super confidential. Nobody can talk about it, but it's so amazing. It's going to blow the roofs off Scientology internationally. Well, finally, all those trainees, or a bunch of those trainees, are done, and they're going home, along with these orgs opening up. Huh. And can't remember the exact date. Maybe they're already home. I might be speaking after the fact of this, but we haven't yet seen, other than some flyers, we have not yet seen any, the teams are back, and, here comes the expansion, and here we go. Well, let me let you all know that in 1971, L. Ron Hubbard brought executives from all over the world to his boat and trained them in the original version of this executive training program, which is called the OEC FEBC. Lots of letters and initials and acronyms in Scientology. And this particular one is Organization Executive Course, OEC, and then / Flag Executive Briefing Course, FEBC. These two classes are not ancient history in Scientology. This is what these people trained on, is the OEC and the FEBC. But it's an OEC and an FEBC that L. Ron Hubbard wouldn't recognize. At least the OEC part. I don't know about the FEBC part. I'm a little curious about that. Where I'm going with this is that in 1971, Hubbard called a bunch of staff to the boats, trained them personally. They went through all these L. Ron Hubbard policies and all this stuff. They got this special superpower. No, not superpower. They got this special auditing called the L rundowns. This super powered auditing is what I was going to say, right? Like this, amazing, turn you into a god overnight kind of auditing that is supposed to bypass the OT case and all the other case. It's more powerful than any other. It just reaches in and just grabs out the most horrible, disgusting, diseased, beating heart out of you and just destroys it, right? And you are super powered as a being with these L rundowns.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Hubbard developed these three things. There's L11, there's L10, L11, and L12. L stands for list, by the way. It's special list that gets audited on people. So this was the big, big, big deal in 1971, 1972. In fact, this is an L. Ron Hubbard executive directive that I printed out today from the files. 9 May 1971. L. Ron Hubbard Executive Directive 141 International, dated 9 May 1971. Subject, current news to all staff and missions. We have a runaway boom in the U.S. This is L. Ron Hubbard writing about these trainees going back to their orgs and everything taking off. For several weeks in a row, the continental gross income has risen a quarter of the whole per week. The UK continental gross income has just doubled, and that in the teeth of the threatened release of their so-called inquiry, at which we never testified and which had no witnesses. The international gross income is 4 times its pre-February 1971 highest ever. Many factors went to make up this boom. Great people, brilliant executives, loyal orgs and franchises that stood rock steady during the years of threat. This is 1971. This is all pre-Snow White and the FBI and all that. This is before all that. The administrative breakthrough called the Product Officer Org Officer System as taught on the Flag Executive Briefing Course, following the various series of 1970 and policy since 1950, all wound up in a rocket takeoff. The case levels of FEBCs, people who do this program, are usually clear OT, a state higher than previous grades. This has been achieved by the fabulous L10 rundown. So this is a state called clear-OT. It's not clear. It's not OT. It's something higher than previous grades. Apparently, this is what L10 gives you is clear OT. You're a clear OT. Backed up by willing and growing staffs, these FEBCs are taking the roof off. It's a runaway boom. Notice he says that twice here now. Here on Flag and in orgs, we are under terrific pressure to deliver and get there with the delivery before we break down with backlogs. At Flag and in orgs, we are making auditors fast and furious. It's a fast race. Yeah. These FEBCs think big. Like, what whole city will we have for United States headquarters? They do big. They send statistics skyrocketing. When the small percent who don't, we recall them at once. Suddenly we have wizard executives. Suddenly a wide open field gapes ahead of us. Suddenly we are on our way. Here we go. We'll have to run like everything just to keep up. We lived through yesterday, so we will live today and are expanding like an explosion today. We will own all of tomorrow. That's the way things are. Here we go. Okay, so clearly in May of 1971, L. Ron Hubbard was pretty high on the fumes of his success with all of these executive trainees going back to the orgs. And yet, let's think about the 1970s and Scientology. What happened after 1971, 72, 73, and this great, big, huge boom that really didn't boom anything and didn't really go anywhere? The FBI raided Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard went into hiding. The entire management structure of Scientology was reorganized. L. Ron Hubbard had to no longer claim authorship or executive oversight of Scientology. He could not put his name on anything. He simply signed it X, and that's how you knew it came from Hubbard for orders and directives. I mean, Scientology crashed and burned in the 70s, right? These executives did not cause a boom. They caused, if anything, a crash. They went back, and remember what we talked about with postulate checks? Let me tell you guys real fast for anybody who doesn't know about this, because this proves, this is sort of the point here, is in 1971, these executives went back to their orgs, and you know what they did? They had the public write them, in order to get the stats up, they had them write a bunch of bad checks from the public. Oh, you don't have the money to pay for this today on Wednesday because you don't
write a bounce check
because you don't get paid until Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay. Oh, Alex in the chat. Cool. You write a postulate check. You write me a check, right? And you give it to me now, and you're going to postulate that that money is going to be in the account by the time I cash that check. Right? That's called a postulate check.
But they don't pay your overdraft fees.
Yeah. Let's just say there was a lot of difficulties with postulate checks, and the entire boom went bust. That was what caused that boom, not the highly trained, efficient, clear OT FEBCs. Now, there was certainly an awful lot of hype, an awful lot of activity, an awful lot of promotional materials, an awful lot of hype about these executive trainees in 1971. So, cause of the affluence is still capable of causing it. So, in the 1990s, they did it again. Now, Hubbard wasn't around. So what could they do? Well, they set up what was called the International Training Org, and that might still exist, although I don't think it does. Maybe it does. Anyway, it's at the Hollywood Guarantee Building in Hollywood, that great big 12-story building. 2 floors of that building are the International Training Org, or at least they used to be. I've been there. I trained there. I supervised people there. I went in and out of that place lots of times. And they had most of the classrooms of the International Training Org were dedicated to training executives from orgs all over the world in teams, not just as individuals. This was always about teams, and sending them back to their orgs to create a boom, right? We're going to boom Scientology. And so in the 1990s, this whole thing was done again. And what happened to Scientology in the 1990s?
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Lisa McPherson, government investigations, the Time Magazine article, Nightline, et cetera, right? In other words, Scientology got, once again, roundly decimated in the media. Nobody wanted to have anything to do with them. And they were still not yet being as widely exposed as came in the 2000s. They hadn't quite yet been defanged legally, so they could still throw their legal lawsuit threat weight around, right? But these executive trainees, and there were hundreds of them from all the orgs all over the place, didn't do crap to alleviate that, mitigate that, or, stop the flow of the bad news for Scientology all through the 1990s and into the 2000s. In fact, some of those staff who trained back then are still around. Same policies, same L. Ron Hubbard advices, same directions, same organizing board, same structure. Nothing, right? Nothing going on. And so here we go again. And Miscavige has now recycled this for at least the third time. There might be other times in history I'm forgetting about on this, but this whole executive training thing, and I'm not speaking to an ongoing program for 30 years of people showing up and then they just kind of, go through the thing. No, we're talking about three completely different, what they call in Scientology an evolution. Right? A full-blown project, international in scope, directed by Miscavige from the very top. First it was Hubbard, now it's Miscavige. This is what we're doing. This is what's going to happen. And as a result of this happening, we're going to see a massive and stellar increase in statistics across the boards. That's the plan. It's just recycled nonsense from the past that didn't work then.
It isn't going to work now.
Isn't going to work now. But they believed that it was working then, because L. Ron Hubbard said it was working then, because he needed it to work then. That's why I read this to you, is because I wanted you to see that L. Ron Hubbard was invested in this, just like Miscavige is, and he needs it to work. But this is what cult leaders are all about, right? Their bright ideas have got to show fruit. And so even if they don't, they got to lie through their teeth about it or hype, right? The boom is on. We have a runaway boom in the U.S. It's a runaway boom. It's a fast race. Boom, boom, boom. This is propaganda. That's what this is. And it was Hubbard trying to, put a shiny coat on a, pile of dung, right? On a bunch of crap. Yes, I know, Alex. That's exactly right. It's so different now because of the golden age of admin, right? That's exactly right. 3 times through. Yeah, just like these guys had to do. Gotcha. No, but it's not just the 3 times. It's, no, of course, Miscavige has changed things subtly, changed things a little bit. In fact, one big change this time around that might make the difference. I have my tongue so hard in my cheek right now. These trainees this time, the executive trainees at Flag, you might have heard, have been on a night schedule so that they are not bothered by any of the protesting or other nonsense that goes on during the day. And this goes all the way back to when there were those Cult City tours. I mean, this goes back to that they don't want the trainees or any of the people who come to Clearwater, Florida to train at Flag to be distracted by any of this. And they also don't want all these hundreds of people taking up all the course room space and auditing space for the public who pay, right, for their services. So they've had them on a night schedule. They've been studying all night long and then sleeping during the day. And I guess after enough time, you can throw everybody's circadian rhythms off enough to be able to do that. But frankly, you're just abusing them harder, especially over long periods of time like that. And now they're all firing back to their orgs, and they're going to have to get back on a day schedule. At least that's what we're hearing, right? That's the data that I have. I hope it's accurate. And certainly the fact that they've been on a night schedule was. How long, they've been off of that or switched around on that, I don't know. But it's pretty stupid and pretty silly to be having people study volumes of material that you expect them to actually be able to think with and apply on that kind of a weird schedule situation, right? Their bodies are just going to be there are going to be consequences to that. Let me just put it that way. Now, at the same time that, okay, good. At the same time that there were all of these executive training programs were happening, I want to point out something else about Scientology, sort of from that, 1 mile away view sort of thing, right? That bird's eye view, is that the way that L. Ron Hubbard kept Scientologists involved with and retained them as Scientologists had to do with the next big thing. It's always the next big thing coming. And if it wasn't policy stuff and executive trainees, because who really cares about that? Scientologists generally don't give a shit about the quality of executives in their organizations. That's not what they're there for or what they're about. But the tech is, and that was also subject when L. Ron Hubbard was around, to constant revisions and constant changes and new rundowns, new product, in other words, constantly coming out. Not just revising the one book, Dianetics, over and over and over again. He came up with new stuff. Hubbard was creative that way. And he came out with a lot of stuff, tons and tons and tons, volumes and books. And I mean, we could stack it up in here or take up the whole room. Miscavige doesn't get to do that. Miscavige can only do his own little twists and turns on it, right? 3 times through, and let's put them all into sequential order now, right? We're going to take all these policy letters, and the reason, okay, here's the thing, right, is we're going to have to invalidate L. Ron Hubbard and what he said. We're going to have to nullify all of this, right? Because we all know now that they didn't succeed. Scientology hasn't taken over the world, and these earlier training executives and tech people, there must have been something wrong with what they were doing. Even though L. Ron Hubbard was supervising it personally, writing it personally, and watching it and debugging it and managing it personally, somehow it must have been wrong. And so Miscavige now has to be the savior and be the savior figure. And so he's got to figure out a way to spin this so that his version of all of this is the best, most amazing, most wonderful golden age ever. And he can, by the way, do another thing after the whole golden age.
Oh.
Yeah. There's more after golden ages. There's platinum ages.
Oh, boy. There's always the platinum.
That's right. There's always something coming. And that's kind of the point here, right? There's always something coming. In 1987, all of the L. Ron Hubbard materials were revised and re-released. In 1991, there was a materials re-release. In 1995, there was a training revision, international in scope, completely changed how Scientology training is delivered. In 1998, there was the Golden Age of Tech for OTs, which changed how people get onto and do the OT levels. And in 2005, there were or 8 or 9 or whatever it was, there were the basics released with the ACCs and the congresses and all of that wonderful, wonderful stuff. Material, cycles, tech, as well as the materials themselves, in a constant state of revision and re-release. And I found this article that I thought you guys might find interesting about the 1991 book release. And this was actually written by Jeff Hawkins and Jefferson Hawkins and somebody else who's calling themselves Thoughtful. So this is a blog post. The Basics, 1991 book release. I'm sure Jeff will be okay with me reading this to you guys. With the release of the Basics, we're hearing all about how the books are now fully verified as completely on source. Right? This is in the 2000s. We are hearing how all errors have been verified meticulously against LRH's original manuscripts to ensure that the books are exactly as LRH intended them to be. However, those of us who can actually remember the past recall that the exact same things were said in 1991 when all the books were repackaged and re-released. Here are the words you're supposed to forget were ever issued from RTC Executive Directive 450, dated September 6, 1991. The Scope of Scientology, Auditor's Day 1991, written by David Miscavige. So here's a quote from Miscavige from 1991. For this reason, in April of 1987, we embarked upon a strategy of making all the materials of the Scientology grade chart standard and available to all. The plan was to, 1, review all materials against original LRH manuscripts and handle any omissions or alterations, right, that had crept in through the years either by mistake or at the hand of some suppressive person. He goes on to say, quote, in this period from 1987 to present time, 1991, the following has been accomplished. 1, all Dianetics and Scientology books were reviewed, gotten fully on source, and issued. These books were put into a form that could easily be studied and understood by anyone, with definitions of hard-to-find terms right in the book, thus preventing individuals from going by misunderstood. This has been done with all of the over 24 books on the subject. So, was he lying then, or is he lying now? And 10 years from now, will we be told to buy all the books again?
Yep,
as
you will be.
Now they're completely on source. Okay, so here's some interesting stuff for you guys. And this is, again, Jeff Hawkins here, right? Why were the basics released? What are the reasons for the basics release in 2006? 1, obvious financial benefits. 2, removing anything deemed politically incorrect. And let me tell you, there were so many things they had to take out of the lectures and the books that Hubbard had put in there from back in the day. So, yeah, they had to take out some stuff. 3, and this is interesting and important, 3, for copyright purposes, as copyrights expire. Now, get this, because even I didn't know this until I looked this up today. The Church of Spiritual Technology, CST, is the owner of the copyrights for all these rewrites. In all of these rewritten books, L. Ron Hubbard is not the author.
Huh.
The Church of Spiritual Technology, or sorry, the Church of Scientology International is the author. In order to make it appear to the public that LRH is the author, LRH's name is made part of the copyrighted title to deceive the public into thinking LRH wrote it.
Huh.
Right? Scientology, a new slant on life / L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh, man.
That's the copyrighted title of the book in the Library of Congress records. Notice that the book cover does not say by L. Ron Hubbard. In fact, none of the above rewrites are authored by LRH. The issues are all based on the works of LRH. The author is CSI, Church of Scientology International. In 1988, the life improvement courses are released by the Church of Scientology International, making the bottom of the bridge a minefield of alterations, all based on the works of LRH. Right? Also, there's another thing y'all should know about this, right? Because one of the things that Miscavige was touting when he was releasing all these lectures and all this material is that it was all a bunch of stuff, a bunch of these lectures that were released had never before seen the light of day since they were originally given, and that they were lost tech. This is a term in Scientology, lost tech. One should realize that most of the lectures were never actually lost, quote unquote. Only a tiny fraction of the 1,000 or so lectures were missing, and most of those were recovered in the 1980s, almost 30 years ago. Most have been there for all these years. Only it was not David Miscavige's priority to make them available until now. Why? Because the marketing was not right, quote unquote. Miscavige's entire fixation as regards the tech is to release or re-release it in such a way as to make himself appear as glorious as possible, as if it were only he who is providing the tech to us. Yes. Okay, so over the last 20 years, we have had 64 ideal orgs opened up, right? Miscavige has been on a tear to renovate every Church of Scientology and make them beautiful, make them perfect. Why? Because Tom Cruise got pissed off because he took some people to Miami before it was renovated and he was embarrassed by it. And, you know, circumstances lent themselves to, okay, let's fix this problem terminatedly. That's how they say it in Scientology. I want it terminatedly handled. Like it's dead. That problem is gone, right? We terminated it. So in order to terminatedly handle Tom Cruise's upset and the embarrassment of going into a Church of Scientology and seeing the ratty carpets, the folding chairs, the broken tables, you know, the rundown quarters, we're gonna deal with this, right? It's time for Scientology to look the same as it feels, right? To be, you know, as amazing in appearance as it is to your spirit or whatever, right? As Miscavige sold everybody on this. And so over the last 20 years, 64 ideal orgs. So I have to ask, where's the expansion? Mm-hmm. Right? Where is it? Where are the
Where are the people?
Where are they hiding? Where are the Scientologists hiding? Right? Where are they all? 64 ideal orgs. Right? Miscavige, here's the thing about Miscavige. Here's what's so wild about this, right? Is, okay, so I've made the point to you tonight, right? That Scientology organizationally, like as a movement, engages in these cause of affluence is still capable of causing it. In other words, we're going to rehash and redo what came before. Because if it caused an affluence then, it's still capable of causing it now. Well, that's ridiculous enough as a statement to just dismiss it out of hand. That's just not true as a blanket fact or rule to get through life. It's a really bad rule. Because there's all kinds of reasons why the cause of an expansion in the past won't cause it to happen now. Fads, culture, education, everything changes. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because it happened back then that it's still capable of making it happen now, right? We're not bringing back horse buggies, right? Oh, but we had this affluence of people, you know, getting outside. Yeah, because of horse buggies, right? So we're going to bring those back. Okay, you get my point, right? But Miscavige has no other lesson that he learned from Hubbard about how to run this thing. And the affluences that they look back on are lies. There were no earlier affluences, not for real. They were fake. They were inflated. They were puffery. The postulate checks of the 70s, the false statistics of the 80s that were rampant in Scientology. Orange County, I could tell you stories, right? Stuttgart, Orange County, these organizations that were called St. Hill size. This was the earlier thing. Before Ideal Orgs, it was all about making orgs as big and productive as they supposedly were when L. Ron Hubbard was running them. And this was Hubbard's game. He came up with this. He was like, well, I ran St. Hill in the 60s, and it was this big booming place. So all the orgs should be able to do that. So we're going to make this game, and we're going to say all the orgs need to be St. Hill size. They need to be as big as St. Hill was in the 60s. Hundreds of students, 1,000 hours of auditing every week, $200,000 of gross income every week, these kind of numbers. This was the numbers we were throwing around in the 80s and 90s as to what we were trying to do with the orgs. Miscavige wiped all that off the map with ideal orgs. And ideal orgs are a very different thing from a St. Hill size org. They're not really the same. And so there aren't the same numbers, in other words. In order to be an ideal org, you do not have to be producing 1,000 hours a week of auditing. You don't have to have hundreds of students. You don't have to have $200,000 worth of income in order to be labeled an ideal org. You just have to renovate it. It can have 5 staff in there in this 20,000, 30,000, 90,000 square foot building. There it is, this beautiful building. It's ideal, right? So in a way, Miscavige has actually cut Hubbard off at the knees, cut off the whole flow of let's expand this thing. He cut that whole thing off. And now all you have to do is make it look good. And it is good as far as he's concerned and as far as Scientology is concerned. So I guess where I'm going with all of this is I have said, you know, my big punchline here, right, is I have said that Scientology is a hamster wheel to nowhere. You get on it and you run and run and run. And this is the universal experience for Scientologists, whether public, staff, or Sea Org. Every one of us went through this. You got on the hamster wheel. You chased the carrot. OT, clear world, beautiful universe, whatever the carrot was for you, money, personal power, whatever it was. We chased and chased. We ran and ran and ran. We paid our money. We put in our time. We expended an incredible amount of effort until we finally got so goddamn tired and realized we were never gonna get that carrot. It just wasn't possible to get it. Some of us found out the carrot was a lie. Some of us, got, I don't know, hit over the head with the carrot enough times that we got sick of it, right? Like whatever the problem was, we finally realized that we were on this hamster wheel and we need to get the hell off of it because we're not getting anywhere. Well, let me introduce a bigger idea to you today, which is Scientology itself is on a hamster wheel of nowhere, right? Which I think we all know already. I mean, it's not like, but there it is. That's the deal. The executive trainees are going to fire back to their orgs. These orgs are going to open up Austin, Chicago, Mexico City, Paris, etc. They can open up 10, they can open up 20, they can open up another 64. It's not going to make any difference. Because Miscavige is not only mismanaging this thing so badly that they don't even want statistics going up. I mean, again, Hubbard would just be fit to be tied. I mean, he would just, every single thing. I mean, there are probably 10 things I've said today that would be good enough reasons for L. Ron Hubbard to declare Miscavige a suppressive person instantly.
Wow.
And at once. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's a whole, I mean, Miscavige's suppressive declare list would go on like a book. I mean, it would probably be about 20 or 30 pages long. All the stuff that guy has done to destroy Hubbard's legacy and wipe out what he was doing. And it wasn't like Hubbard was really like, the Grand King who was making it all happen, but he was running a more successful show than Miscavige ever ran. That's for sure. That's for sure. So yeah, Miscavige just run this thing into the ground. And the whole thing is basically on this hamster wheel to nowhere, right? And that's a limited time thing. You can't do that forever. And that's why we can be confident, looking at the whole history of this whole thing, we can be confident in the fact that eventually this hamster wheel is going to come to a stop. It's just inertia. That's the only thing that keeps it going at this point. It's just inertia, right? People throwing money at it, people throwing hope at it. But at the end of the day, there's no there. There's nothing there, to actually sink your teeth into and to take away that means something substantial and real, and that's the deal. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today, were some of my thoughts about all of that. It's, you know, it's for us old timers, I guess you could say, right? I mean, if I have been around Scientology since the 70s, I guess I get to call myself an old timer. And, you know, it's just, it's kind of it's not even, something I feel sad or bad about anymore. It's funny how for a very long time it used to really upset me to see how badly Scientology was mismanaged, and to watch Miscavige tank it harder and harder, even after I got out. I'm talking about, to just watch these foolish, stupid mistakes be made over and over and over again was just, it's now hilarious to me. Now I actually take some joy in it. And because it's all in the direction of where we want it to go, which is Scientology dying. That is what's happening. I really, really don't have a lot of doubts about that. It's really just a matter of time. How
long is it going to take? Yeah.
That's the big question.
Yeah.
Right? Who knows? None of us know, because it will rely on factors that are not predictable and not under our control. But that's what's kind of going on. So I thought I would share all that stuff with you guys. Now, where are we? Oh, good. Wow. Look at all that monologuing. Jesus. God, this guy just won't stop talking. Okay, I'll tell you what. I want to do this. So I'm going to pick up Travis's call because he has patiently been in the queue here, and he almost always has amazing things to share with us. So let's go ahead and pick this call up. Hey, Travis.
Howdy. Good to talk to you, Chris.
Yeah, welcome to the show. What you got for us this week?
Well, I have a question. Well, I have a couple of questions, and it helps to clarify exactly what's going on with Scientology. Yeah, you've done a fairly good job, if not an impeccable job,
Thank you.
discussing how Scientology is dying.
Yeah. Yeah, what you got?
So, my question. So, here's the thing. Austin is the best place for Scientology to open an establishment in the worst place. FYI, there's a Whole Foods on Guadalupe, and I think that's the original location. It was Whole Foods was founded in Austin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, yeah, their headquarters is there. Only in Austin would a place like Whole Foods open up.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's a totally different world. That's for a different show, though. So that building is huge. It's my understanding that they don't have enough staff for that place. Isn't that the case?
I believe that is true. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's the workaround for that? Because they're going to open this place up, but let's say they even get 50% of the traffic they want. It sounds to me like they can't even handle that. They being the staff at the org. Am I reading that properly?
Yeah, it would be interesting if they got a sudden public influx, how they would cope with that. It would be interesting to watch and see. I don't even dare predict at this point, not knowing those people or the context of it enough now. But I'll tell you that inefficiency is the order of the day for Scientology organizations, even now. They are just, like my interview with Cass Folletti demonstrated this last weekend, just gross inefficiencies. So I would expect it to be like you said.
Well, the natural follow-up is then, how is it that these organizations are funded?
The Ideal organizations?
The lack of public banks. Yeah, let's go with the Ideal organization. There's some background to that, but that big building, somebody needs to keep the lights on. And trust me, power in Austin is not cheap. It's not. Electricity, rent's not cheap for people at all.
Right.
And the upkeep for that place is going to be quite high. That's just how it works there.
Well, what I can
paying staff, where's the money coming from?
Well, what I can tell you is that the major expense of rent is taken care of now because they own the building.
Oh.
And the church does not charge rent to the staff of those buildings. That's not that they just have the building. So rent is out of the picture. All they have to do in the Ideal Orgs is keep the lights on and keep the AC going or the heating going. And often they fail at that much. I know Vegas, for example, has had major problems with that.
Ugh.
Twin Cities has to one degree or another as well because they have this 90,000 square foot building they have to keep warm all winter.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's real. That's rough. But That's all they have to do is cover those basic utilities and necessities, and they're good. So that brings the income demand or the financial demand down quite a bit compared to when they had to pay the rent or the lease payments. That was killing Scientology internationally. It was a major, major reason why Miscavige went to the Ideal Org program. I believe. No, he never said that, but I believe that's the case. Does that make sense?
It does, but
Okay.
see, here's the thing. You mentioned electricity.
Yeah.
I live here in Texas, and it's true. It gets to be 100 for like 60 days, 70, 80 days.
Yeah.
In Austin's no different. It'll be like 105 for 3 months straight.
Yep.
Well, let's see him keep the AC going in that for that huge building. That is mostly glass. Okay, that's good. That'll be a problem for them.
Yep.
And the last thing that I have is I read recently Hubbard had put out an order, one of those. I'm sure you read it because you were management?
Yeah.
Continental management.
Yep.
And it talks about being able to deliver the services fast,
Mm-hmm.
accurately and quickly, and presenting a good public service, customer service space.
Mm-hmm.
Is that taken seriously?
Oh yeah, very much.
Scientology, or is that
Yeah.
one of those?
I mean, what part? What do you mean?
Okay.
Is it taken? Like, how do you mean? Let's be clear.
How is that put in operation? Because here's the thing. When they have 5 people working the staff, which is what the case was in the Dallas org, I went there,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody looked beat down. They had part-time volunteer people working the desk. It was a ghost town.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen more people at a bus stop in the out in the middle of nowhere than I saw there.
Right.
And how are they going to square that with delivering services quickly, accurately, promptly, the whole nine?
Yeah,
Or
you
is
got
it
you.
something that they'll ignore?
No, you're nailing it. The fact is that Scientology has degraded quite a bit in its service quality over the years from when I was in. So I speak to my experience as a staff member where I was running across the org to get to the public, to service the public, because Hubbard says service must be as instant as possible. And I took those words very seriously, right? So I was a really hard worker in the org. But it seems from what I'm hearing that is no longer the case, both from you and from other people who've spoken about how things are in the orgs these days. It's another indication, right? Another one of those waving red flags of Scientology's demise is that they are not even energetic about servicing the public, right? It's got you walk in, if you want to come in, I guess. It's almost like they treat you with disdain almost. It's so different from how it used to be.
Well, here's the thing. Just judging off of that and knowing what I know about Austin, that building I go up. By the way, my dad went to UT in the 70s.
Mm.
That's why I'm a Texan. I was born in Austin when he was going to school there.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that this is just an anecdote, that the Scientologists actually had a van down there, a crate van, and they would offer students walking. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have Chewy's, but Chewy's is a big Tex-Mex restaurant.
Oh yeah.
And so
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
all these nice. Yeah, that's also started in Austin on Guadalupe Street.
Oh
The
wow.
original location is still there. It's a big sombrero, or at least it used to be. So anyway, all the college kids are hanging out there, at least during the day, and they would try to bogart you in there. And anyway, so that being said, they're not going to get any traffic. They're simply not.
Nope.
It's a major road, and they're going to get college kids pulling pranks. They're going to get a lot of homeless people sleeping out in front or hanging out in there, and that's going to be a problem. Don't get me wrong. I'm not crapping on the homeless people, but they got a lot of them in Austin, and not all of them are sane. Just say, well, hey, maybe that's good for Scientology. But the deal here is when you mention Austin and the grand opening, all I see is a bottomless pit of money just going like a boat. You know, they say a boat is a hole in the water that sucks in money.
Yes.
That is the case with Scientology org. It's a building that just sucks in money, and I don't see how they can survive, honestly, for a whole long time.
I agree with you because their public inflow is so crappy these days, and I'm gonna say you're absolutely right. I think that's exactly what's gonna happen. Is these orgs are gonna have to become subsidized by management like they were before. even though they're not even having to pay rent. Back when lease payments and balloon payments on loans and mortgages and rent was due, if the orgs didn't pay it, we at management had to figure out money from our reserves to make their rent payments. So if these orgs, these new ideal orgs, are not going to keep up with their bills or their heating or whatever, and this becomes a problem, then the management's going to have to do the same thing again, and it's going to be round and round on the hamster wheel we go, even with this, right? So that's how I see it.
So, and that's all I've got. I've got another anecdote for you, then I'll hang up.
Yeah, what you got?
Austin, believe it or not, has the highest gay per capita or gay population, the biggest gay population in Texas, of any of the towns, like per capita. So ironic, considering the stance that Scientology takes towards our LGBT brothers and sisters. They're going to get some of those. They will get some of those people in there just because it's Austin. They have a lot of gay people around. Our lesbians, or whatever the proper term is, they're not going to like that. And they're going to have some trans people too, because it's Austin, and that's just the way Austin is. So they're going to have a bumpy ride dealing with people who are not only gay. That's going to be a big issue, but people who do a lot of drugs, because it's Austin. These people are doing a lot of drugs. They're smoking dope. They're doing this. They're doing that. It's been like that since my dad went to school there. My dad wasn't involved, but listen, they have a nude beach in Austin, and it's named Hippie Hollow after the hippies who would go smoke dope and go run naked into the big lake over there, and it's still there, believe it or not.
Wow,
so,
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's called Hippie Hollow. And offline, if you want to, believe it or not, I had an uncle who used to go there. That's in the 70s. That's a completely different story. I'm not going to share that online other than that.
Understood.
With that.
All right. Thank you, Travis.
We'll take care.
All right, man. Bye-bye. All right. Let's drop that. All right. Just because... yeah, we got to get going.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to wrap up the show. I see another caller in the queue, and I thank you for calling. But we're going to have to wrap up because we try to keep this to an hour. Thank you for calling in. I know I monologued. Oh, let me take these off. I know I monologued a bit. That was kind of on purpose. I had a lot to cover tonight. So thank you guys for calling in and keeping this call-in show.
Yeah.
I have various degrees, and you guys are gonna have to let me know, okay? Because I get varying degrees of feedback on this over time. I'm not gonna call in. You can have a call-in show, but I don't care. I'm not gonna do that. Or people are like, no, you should have it. Anyway, keep letting me know on the feedback on this, because I'm going to keep doing this Friday show. But if it's not really wanted that we do a call-in, part of it or whatever, because there is drop off at that point on people watching, and I'm fine with filling out an hour myself with my wife. I'm quite capable of doing that. Anyway, you guys will have to let me know. You have to LA org, a Sea org. Oh, yeah, that's for sure. Oh, yes. Okay, so here's what's happening. Let me tell you guys on this weekend, because there are different things. Thanks for reminding me, Xenu. In fact, I got good news for you guys. So news number one is we will be doing our critical Q&A live right here tomorrow, not Sunday, Saturday, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, right here. Maybe I'll be joined by my beautiful wife. We will see about that. Okay, and even better news is, okay, so Tony and I kind of crossed paths in terms of our travel and logistics and stuff. And so I wasn't going to it was going to be another week of no After Scientology Straight Up and Vertical, but it looks like Apostate Alex and I are going to get together on Sunday morning and record something for release on Monday. So it looks like you'll be having a guest host instead of Tony. We'll have Alex on. That's the plan right now. We will push that through so y'all have that show on Monday after all. All right, so that being said, let's go ahead and wrap up the show. Oh, give me a...
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I should have handed my wife my critical thinking cards there while we were doing that. Oh, that's for sure. Yeah, Austin's a really, really interesting place.
The fallacy. Presuming that because a claim has been poorly argued or a fallacy has been made, that it is necessarily wrong. Recognizing that Amanda had committed a fallacy in arguing that we should eat healthy food because a nutritionist said it was popular, Elise said we should therefore eat bacon double cheeseburgers every day.
Hell yes. Hell yeah, bacon cheeseburgers every day.
I'm in.
Totally there. All right, guys, thanks for coming around and watching. Really appreciate your viewership and your support. And of course, if you would like to contact me personally for one-on-one consultation, I am more than happy to do that for you and with you. Very, very fun and enjoyable time consulting with my consultees. If you're looking for education, guidance, somebody just listen, understand, support, in terms of coercive situations, culty situations, stuff like that, reach out, let me know. Despite whatever nonsense is out there, as I have said every single time, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, I'm not licensed. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not even pretending to do that. Okay, but I do like helping people, and it's fun to do. So if you want that, you can reach out and talk to me. All right, guys. On that happy note, let's wrap up. You got anything?
Good night. No. Good
okay.
night.
Bye bye.